Hi, and welcome to Be Calm, Be Confident, Breaking the Cycle of Negative Thoughts to Regain Emotional Freedom, an audio course from Scribd. I'll be walking you through this course on how to stay calm and in control in the face of challenging situations. I'd like to begin by sharing 3 statements, and I want you to think about whether or not they sound familiar to you. Think about whether you identify with these statements or have identified with them at any point in the past few months. First, despite your talents, skills, and knowledge, you struggle to feel good about yourself. That's the first statement. Next, you experience moments where anxiety creeps in, and you have, perhaps, an above-average ability to mask any insecurities that you might be feeling in the moment. That's number 2. And finally, hiding anxiety takes energy, and at times, you begin to feel overwhelmed and exhausted because of it. If any of those sound familiar to you, or if all 3 do, you're in the right place. And I'm sure that you'll take something from this course if you identify with any of those statements to varying degrees. Maybe these are feelings that come up every now and then, or maybe you feel this way quite often and it makes it difficult to get through the day. If you fall anywhere between those 2 points, then there's something here for you, and I look forward to preparing you with the tools to overcome these feelings. This course is designed to help teach you how to function and feel good when you're experiencing challenging situations, instead of allowing your emotions to take the driver's seat. And we're going to be working with some specific situations as examples throughout the course, so that you can really take this into your life right now and make it work as you're learning. And we all have these challenging moments that I'm talking about when we feel overwhelmed with anxiety and stress. For example, maybe you're experiencing some change at work, or equally, maybe some pressure at home. Perhaps you've recently taken on lots of extra responsibilities. Maybe you're trying to raise children or manage your relationships. Maybe there's financial pressure too, or your health is impacted. It could be anything. There's no experience that's too big or small. When all of this happens, whatever it may be for you, the mind and body will start to feel it, and the mind and body are very connected. So, when the mind starts to feel overwhelmed, our emotions kick in, and the body will start to respond to that stress as well. It's difficult to be calm and look confident. And when we start to feel that, we know we've got to take some action. So maybe you'll start to experience some panic, some shortness of breath. You're feeling tired or fatigued all of the time, maybe feeling a little drained. Or maybe your mood is affected. You're a bit irritable or struggling to think straight. Perhaps some of your behaviors have changed. You're struggling to sleep or sleeping too much and drinking or eating a little too much. These bodily responses often create more anxiety and stress. But how nice would it be to switch off the emotional hijack and restore your sense of calm? Fortunately, all of these things can be addressed. Just remember, it hasn't always been like this, and it's not like this all of the time. You can change. You can break out of this cycle. Though 1 in 6 people suffer from a common mental health problem each year, whilst impacting your life, they are also treatable, just like physical conditions. In this course, I want to share several tools that will help you to understand how you're feeling and better manage your emotions, even in challenging times. We'll discuss a few core topics, including how the brain works to keep us in a self-perpetuating cycle of stress and negative thoughts, how to break out of the cycle and start engaging with both the conscious and subconscious mind, and several additional tools and exercises that you can start using today to improve how you handle challenging situations. But before we move on, I want to share a little bit about myself. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and mindset and life coach. I help my clients to overcome self-doubt so that they can develop the confidence they need to go out and seize the opportunities that matter to them. I work with them to let go of the past and of their self-limiting beliefs so that they can live their best lives, the lives they deserve. I'm passionate about sharing this course to help people when they're encountering difficult circumstances, because it gives me the opportunity to show that you don't need to wait to get support. You can start using these coping techniques as you're learning them. Before we go any further, I do want to touch on an important disclaimer. This course is not for those who have diagnosed mental health disorders or a history of psychosis. If that is the case for you, then perhaps this isn't something that you would solely rely on as a source of therapy. While you may still benefit from this course, I strongly recommend you see your physician in these cases for more robust resources on how you can find the professional support that's right for you. If you're ready, grab a pen and paper and let's get working with your mind. Hi, and welcome back to Be Calm, Be Confident, breaking the cycle of negative thoughts to regain emotional freedom. In our introduction, we began to explore what it looks like when challenging situations get the best of us. When we're overwhelmed, it can feel so challenging. We ask ourselves, how am I going to get out of this? Or which way do I turn? And it can be so difficult to do because you're already not firing on all cylinders as it is. But somewhere along the way, you need to be able to break that pattern and get that strength back and restore yourself to be able to function in a meeting or hold a conversation. And it starts with understanding what is actually happening to you in those moments. In this unit, we'll discuss why our brains respond to challenging situations with anxiety and stress. We'll go over the 4-step cycle that often traps us, and that will serve as the basis for the rest of the course as we begin to explore how to overcome that cycle. Maybe you've struggled with excessive anxiety all your life and find it difficult to be calm. Or maybe these feelings are quite new for you, and that in itself can be challenging as well. Either way, I want to assure you that it's actually quite normal to be stuck in this cycle based on how the brain has evolved. So, let's talk through a simplified model of what's going on in our minds when we're encountering difficult situations, based on Paul MacLean's triune brain model. There are 3 generalized areas of processing in the brain: the survival brain, sometimes called reptilian brain, the emotional brain, or the limbic brain, and the thinking brain, which is often referred to as the neocortex. Our survival brain is the core part of the brain that evolved first in early man and is designed, you guessed it, to help us survive. This part of the brain includes the basal ganglia and the brainstem. If our brain was a fist, it would be the wrist and thumb. It's the fight, flight, or freeze part of our brain that recognizes crisis and responds almost on autopilot. So, when we're feeling threatened or we're feeling that there is some tension around us in our environment, the brain is going to pick up on this, and it's going to go to that survival brain and respond automatically. The brain, at its core function, is really designed to help us survive, and so it will prioritize this area. So, if you're perceiving a threat and feeling some anxiety around it, this is because your brain is trying to prepare you in order to keep you safe. Our emotional brain is located in the middle part of the brain and is, quite literally, wrapped around the survival brain. This part of the brain evolved after the survival brain, and it includes the hippocampus, the amygdala, and the hypothalamus. So this is where we process our experiences into emotions, where we feel fear, tension, nervousness, sadness, happiness, etc., In other words, the limbic brain recognizes the emotion that we associate with a given crisis. It's also the chemical brain, involved in the release of hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. All of those chemicals responding here that are useful and needed. But when we experience stress and anxiety for a long time, when this part of our brain is switched on for a bit too long, it can have a negative impact on both our long-term and short-term physical and mental health. This is also where we form and store memories, which will come into play later. The thinking brain, located in the frontal part of the brain, developed last and includes the prefrontal cortex. Our thinking brain is the slowest to process inputs from the outside. So, if you're going, I should just be able to get out of this. Why can't I just think straight? That struggle is actually because your mind, in an anxious, worried state, is in its crisis survival brain, and that one will be prioritized. That one will always win. In other words, because of this delay, feelings and impulses will always outweigh logic when responding to stimuli. This is why our thoughts can so often get hijacked by our emotions. So, it's all quite natural for this to go on, but you can control it. The key is working past the difficulty to try and calm down and operate in that thinking mind. As we've suggested, these systems are all interconnected. Thoughts, feelings, and the physical response are all tied together when we encounter a situation. They create a cycle that we can get stuck in unless we're actively using strategies that calm us down and help us to focus. So now that we've covered each individually, let's take a closer look at the relationship between these different parts of the brain and really understand what this cycle can look like. When we encounter a threatening situation, the reptilian part of the brain is triggered, fulfilling its purpose to keep you safe. This triggers a chemical release in the emotional part of the brain, which then triggers any of the physical symptoms we listed in our introductory unit. Again, while the neocortex is trying to problem solve, it will respond slower, and in some cases, you may feel like your emotions are completely hijacked as the reptilian, or survival part of the brain, acts instinctively to protect you. Therefore, trying to rationalize the problem can feel like fighting fire. These processes are so intertwined, however, that even the thinking brain can sometimes show up earlier under the influence of our survival brain or emotions. We experience a thought, typically, but not necessarily, in response to some immediate external circumstance. Then, the thought creates feelings. Then, so on and so forth, feelings work faster, creating a bodily response. And finally, our response changes the situation, creating new thoughts and feelings, and repeating the cycle. Imagine, for example, the following situation. You're giving an important presentation to your whole company. Your thinking brain sends you the thought, "This is a really important meeting and I can't mess it up." Your thoughts, once you get going, often spiral out of control a little bit. So one thought leads to another. Your initial thought of, "This meeting is important," may spiral into, "Can I do it? Do I know enough? Will I make a fool out of myself? What if people ask lots of questions? Will my technology give out on me? I don't think I'll be able to get there on time, and I will probably forget my words," etc. These are your thoughts, and you can be sure that they're being driven by your survival brain. These thoughts then create feelings. In a challenging situation, you may feel anxious or worried. You may feel fear. Remember, that's about when your body will release cortisol and adrenaline. So that feeling of fear is creating a physical response in your body. Your throat tightens. Maybe your hands shake or your face gets flushed. Maybe your words won't come out and you start to freeze. Now, as we've got that physical reaction in our body, that becomes our response in how we behave in our body language and tone of voice, or even what we choose to say. That then is how we're seen and heard, creating a new situation that we're perceiving and responding to in real time. In this new situation, we can feel our hands shake, or maybe our face gets flushed when we get up to deliver our speech. And that's reflected in our tone. We sound really nervous. We're lacking that confidence. And that's going to come across. And we've kind of brought about that response that we wanted to avoid to begin with. And again, that creates new thoughts. Oh, I really can't do this. Or, this is going exactly how I hoped it wouldn't. Our thoughts inform our feelings, which influence how our bodies respond. Our bodies then change the situation. None of us are immune to this cycle, even those of us who are really good at managing it. It's something we all experience in situations like this one, or even just going about our day-to-day. For example, if we were instead encountering a positive stimulus, maybe our survival brain isn't so quick to step in since there's no perceived threat, but we're still likely to experience some positive emotions as a result. And it doesn't stop there. These positive emotions, instead of cortisol or adrenaline, will trigger, say, oxytocin, dopamine, or serotonin. In this case, we're seeing the same cycle play out according to a different set of thoughts, emotions, and circumstances. So, before we wrap up this unit, let's try an exercise. In this exercise, we're going to try and actively notice the difference between the thinking brain and the emotional brain. Think about a situation that you're finding particularly challenging at the moment. That might be a meeting you have coming up or a stressful conversation you need to have with a family member or friend. Any troublesome thing on your radar that's giving you worry at the moment, write it down. Now, explore the thoughts that come up when you think about this situation, and be very clear here about your thoughts. Remember, we're not focusing on a feeling right away. Focus on the thoughts that come up. Recall our earlier example about an upcoming meeting, and you're thinking, this is a really important meeting, so on and so forth. Remember the differences we explained there between those thoughts and the feelings that come from them. Also remember, thoughts begin to snowball, so really delve into what your thoughts may be. It may be more than the 3 or 4 that come up at the surface. Keep following this chain of thoughts. Get them all out. This is just for you, so be really honest in what you're putting there. Once you've written out your thoughts, move to noting what your feelings are. Maybe you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling worried or tense. So write down your feelings. It's good to label them. Naming and externalizing your emotions helps you to shift them when you've become aware of them. That's when the power starts to shift. Notice how these things are different. We're just noticing for now, but by the end of this course, you'll be fully prepared to take on these thoughts and feelings head on and change them to something you can manage more effectively. So now that you know how this cycle works in your brain, let's move to the next unit, where we'll start to talk about the tools you can use to break this cycle. Hi, and welcome back to unit number 3 of Be Calm, Be Confident, Breaking the Cycle of Negative Thoughts to Regain Emotional Freedom. Now that we've talked about the cycle of negative thoughts and feelings, in this unit, we'll talk about how to start working your way out of it by using 3 specific techniques. One of the first things you can do to help reduce that stress response is to give your thinking brain time to catch up. The mind needs a chance to communicate calm feelings to the body. So, the best way of doing this is to pause, stop, it only needs to be momentarily, and start to correct your breathing. Many of us completely underestimate the power of the breath. Give it a try. I want you to take 2 to 3 really nice, deep breaths in and a longer breath out. Do it with me. Breathe in and a long breath out. We are always breathing in for 4 seconds, a little hold at the top of that inhale, and breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A really long breath out where we're able to hear what we're doing. We are able to reset and come back with a mind that's much clearer, much more calm. As we have that longer breath out, we help the nervous system restore balance throughout our bodies. We are working with the parasympathetic nervous system. Notice the changes in your body. Notice how calm you are starting to feel. And as we work with the breath out, we're giving a signal to the mind, almost reversing what went on before, to work with those hormones, manage the adrenaline, and restore that sense of calm that we need in order to operate in the thinking mind. Even 3 breaths will make a difference, and there are a lot of different breathing exercises that you can try, but I like to use the 1-minute breathing technique, which is sort of an extended version of what we've just gone through here. And that's the first technique I want to share with you. This exercise consists of about 6 really deep breaths. Pause, breath. Breathe in for 4 counts and out for 7 counts, and repeat about 6 times. That will take about a minute, and then that will allow you to collect yourself and start to think now, okay, for this stressful situation, how could I think about this differently? Maybe you won't always have the time to really give the situation some thought, but even in those cases, you'll be able to communicate better and with more confidence. Now you have changed your emotional state and restored calm. You can think more effectively. You can think about what you want to achieve and what to happen. What's your goal? Your motivation? What's your ideal outcome? Try to have a few outcomes depending on the type of situation that you're in. Getting too attached to one outcome may set you back to square one if things don't go your way. So, these goals or outcomes might concern a specific task that's generating stress, but they might also be about how you want the other people involved to respond to you. Maybe it's, I want people to buy into my pitch, or I want to connect, or I want to get my point heard. From there, you can now think more clearly about how to engage or behave such that you'll bring about the kind of result or response that you're hoping for, instead of acting out of your emotional or survival brain. Personally, once I've restored a feeling of calmness, I like to state affirmations, like, I am knowledgeable, I am prepared, I already know these people. I'm going to be building the relationship, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to learn. I am fully in control. When you're saying these things to yourself, start to notice your feelings shifting. You'll likely begin to feel more open and more confident. And you can say these kinds of things at any time, not just when you've encountered a challenging situation. Again, notice how you feel and how the changes in your emotions affect your body language. When we're calmer and breathing better, we breathe more slowly. We are more in control, rather than breathing and talking fast and looking and sounding very nervous. This pause enables us to think through a better response just by working that circle around again, but with more purpose, intention, and control. Remember, we need to switch off the fear chemicals triggered in the emotional brain. A long breath out is really what is going to help here. That's what's really doing the work of calming your body and sending messages via the nervous system to switch off the chemical flow in the body. Easy, counting and breathing. It's not just about oxygen. We are also helping our thinking brain catch up so that we can take control of ourselves and the situation. Now, let's take a look at the second technique I'd like to share with you. Taking a resilience break. We've all been there. We've all gotten so burned out that it becomes difficult to get out of bed or off the sofa. You start procrastinating, and you resent the time you have to put towards one task or another. Sometime before last Christmas, I was there myself. I knew I was tired. I had 3 very busy months and was looking forward to a few weeks off with family and just resting and reading. Of course, that didn't go as planned. I came down with an illness. I was knocked off my feet, and I knew I had to approach January with a caring, realistic mindset. I had gotten over the chest infection, but I recognized I was still weary and had a dreadful brain fog from my exhausting 3 months. One day, with time to spare at Birmingham train station, I wandered into the newsagents and meandered around the book section, always dangerous. I came across a book on resilience from the Harvard Business Review series, and there was one chapter in particular that really caught my eye. It said, "Resilience is about how you recharge, not endure." This really struck me because they had a point. Resilience as an attribute is always made out to seem like how much you can passively withstand and keep moving without breaking stride. Even if this is as admirable as we make it seem, it doesn't sound very rewarding. But what if resilience isn't about how much you can take? What if it's about what you do to make sure you can keep going? Maybe it is time to recognize that life is not an endurance test. Time to rest and build your resilience levels back up. It is time to find another way to gain the spring in your step. And this book presented such a compelling argument for resilience as an active quality rather than a passive one. Is this how you see resilience? Or are you powering through? I believe there is a danger in how we historically perceive resilience, that we should have more of it, develop it, obtain it, and measure it, as if it's a kind of competency. We're taught to believe that we fail if we don't have it. So we keep going, enduring. Is that any way to live, let alone thrive? The simple fact is that our bodies do run out of energy. They get ill, we have difficult times, and they need to rest and restore themselves. It's just part of being human. So how do you build your resilience by recharging? You take breaks. No need to pause and rewind, you heard that right. Maybe given our modern conception of productivity, we're not quite used to being told that taking breaks can be a good thing, right? At best, they're typically presented as some kind of necessary evil. But the truth is that taking breaks is good for both your mental health and for your productivity levels, both in an internal and an external sense. By taking internal breaks, I mean taking breaks within the workday. In 2014, researchers Zylstra, Kropley, and Riedstedt explored this concept, stating, "Internal recovery refers to the shorter periods of relaxation that take place within the framework of the workday or work setting by changing tasks, taking breaks." So, these are what we typically think of as more traditional breaks, in which we recharge in short bursts at lunchtime and throughout the day, etc. Some methods even recommend taking a short break every hour. Take a walk, eat away from the desk, do some yoga, whatever helps you to briefly recharge. It is important to switch off the mental stimulus and relax your body and mind. And so, taking external breaks, as you could maybe imagine, refers more to taking vacations or time away from work entirely. Zylstra, Kropley, and Riedstedt also say a little bit about this, stating, external recovery refers to actions that take place outside of work, days off, holidays, weekends. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to book that trip to Hawaii, though maybe that's what you need. Or maybe you prefer a staycation with your family or some time to focus on your hobbies. In either case, it's important to figure out how you recharge, and we're all unique. But be careful, by the time we finally get a moment to ourselves, many of us want to believe that doing nothing is exactly what we want or need. If by that you mean meditation, then go for it. But try to put in the effort to figure out what it is for you that is fulfilling, something that enriches your life and brings you satisfaction without feeling like work. There are lots of great resources out there to help you figure out what restores your energy based on your personality. Try doing those activities as your resilience breaks. The third and final technique that I want to leave you with: clear out any emotions you are hoarding. The emotional response from past events can be re-triggered when we encounter a stimulus from a similar situation. It may be an event from college or from a previous job. Or perhaps there was tension in a relationship or at home as a child. And now, when you experience tension, raised voices, particular looks and behaviors of others, you feel uncomfortable and unconfident. The emotions and responses follow us around everywhere we go, often without us even realizing, until eventually these negative emotions spiral into some self-limiting narrative that dominates our lives and takes over our rational thinking minds. And for what? So, if you don't want to change those uncomfortable feelings, it's important to make a conscious effort to clear out those emotions every now and then. A good way to do this on your own is by journaling. Write down your thoughts and feelings, and remember the difference, whatever comes to you. Then, reflect on what you've written. Write down anything else that comes up that feels new or important in your reflection. Keep going deeper and deeper until you feel like you've gotten out everything that's been lingering. Then, take some time to think about what you need now that it's all out. Sometimes it may be as simple as to note the emotion you are feeling and then choose to release it with your breath. Build a daily practice of journal writing that allows you to restore regularly. Make it a habit. Schedule it for a time you know you'll get it done. I recommend mornings when you first wake up and at night before you go to sleep. If you've found that your emotions tend to linger quite often and that it makes it difficult to get through the day or to manage your relationships or professional life, consider seeking talk therapy. Of course, there are many kinds of therapy out there, but one of the most common forms is really to simply do what we've described here verbally with a trained professional. Someone who can encourage you, without judgment, to dig deeper into whatever lingering emotions have been driving your moods or behaviors and controlling your life. You can think of a therapist as a human journal who's been professionally trained to respond to you in the most effective way. They are skilled in identifying whether you've truly gotten to the heart of your lingering emotion or whether there's something deeper still. Seeking a therapist is the best option for clearing out emotions you've been hoarding and offers countless other benefits. So, we've gone through a few strategies here. The 1-minute breathing exercise, or any suitable substitute you come across, taking resilience breaks, and clearing out any emotions you've been hoarding by journaling or finding a therapist. These are all, of course, quite different, but you can see how they each present different ways of just taking a pause or resetting, giving you a moment, either in a real time or behind the scenes, to collect yourself and disrupt the cycle of our thoughts, emotions, and bodily responses. Like we've mentioned, it's not so much that we're trying to transcend the cycle or anything magical like that. It's basic science, and there's only so much we can do. What we're really trying to do is make sure that we're not acting from this primal place of survival or allowing our emotions, which, as we know, are a product of that reptilian survival brain, to rule us when times get hard. We just want to give ourselves a moment to calm down our bodies and get ourselves to a place where we can act from our rational thinking mind to show up in a way that is calm and confident and in control. You'll find, like we've mentioned, that even when we are able to achieve this, we're still living out that cycle. Our positive or even our rational neutral thoughts enable us to respond to a situation in a way that we can be proud of. And this produces positive emotions, which then reinforce these strategies as habits, right? We want to feel good. We want to keep showing up in ways that we're proud of. And so that keeps us calm. And you can see how we're in the same cycle, but we've now taken control of it, simply by finding ways to just take a pause. Of course, with breathing, you're doing this quite literally in the moment. But I really like these other two strategies because they help to build the habit of taking this time for yourself regularly, even if there's no immediate anxiety-producing stimulus. Now, let's try an exercise. Earlier in this unit, I had you try an abbreviated version of the 1-minute breathing exercise. Before moving on, try the full exercise. Breathe in for 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 7 seconds. Go through this 6 times. Keep a journal nearby and write down how you feel afterwards. That's all for unit number 3. Join us in the next unit, where we'll talk about how to break the cycle by working with the subconscious mind. Hi, and welcome back to unit number 4 of Be Calm, Be Confident, Breaking the Cycle of Negative Thoughts to Regain Emotional Freedom. In the last unit, we talked about some ways that you can break the cycle of your emotions, thoughts, and bodily responses by taking a pause and giving your thinking brain time to catch up. Now, I want to share another way that you can break the cycle, by using your subconscious mind to counteract your conscious mind, and planting positive emotions rather than negative ones. Think back to your challenging situation that you used earlier in our exercise for unit number 2. If you haven't completed this exercise, I recommend that you do so, but for now, you can even use the example we went through together. The one about the really important meeting. How can you use the subconscious mind to think about this situation differently? Well, instead of dwelling on the negative thoughts, giving them power, we want to reorient our mind toward the positive thoughts that can ultimately lead to positive emotions. So remember, in the last unit, when we went through breathing exercises, we talked about thinking through your ideal outcome for when you encounter a stressful situation. What do you want to happen? What is your goal? Just to recap, you want to focus not just on the tasks you're performing, but on the outcomes that would mean success for you internally. How would you want to show up in this moment? In our presentation example, I suggested using affirmations such as, I am knowledgeable, I am prepared, I am going to learn here today, and noticing the feelings that emerge when you think these things to yourself. Before, when we covered this, we talked about using it more or less in the moment to determine a more rational way to respond to a challenging situation, a way that will lead you to that ideal outcome. In that case, we're still using our conscious mind to create these thoughts. But we can make this even more powerful by working with the subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind often outweighs the conscious mind and can be more powerful. The subconscious mind responds to memories and feelings and creates the same kind of emotional and bodily response that our conscious thoughts do. Although it's somewhat different from our survival brain, you can think of your subconscious as being another kind of autopilot. So if we're feeling really confident about a situation internally, it will drive a more confident response without us having to think much about it. So when we talk about imagining the ideal outcome for your situation, of course, you can use this to inform your behavior, but you can also think of this exercise as a sort of positive visualization that you're feeding your subconscious. Visualization is a technique that helps us guide our subconscious mind. It's all about creating a positive scene, like your successful outcome, very clearly in your mind. Visualization helps your brain encode this positive scenario like a memory, as if it's already happened, storing it as a familiar event. And our subconscious mind responds to what is familiar. It looks for patterns. It looks for data in the brain, especially memories, so it knows how to respond. If it does not have that data, that example or experience to refer back to, there can be tension because your subconscious mind doesn't know how to respond. And so it's scrambling, and that's what's creating stress for you. That's why some external stimuli create anxiety for us and others don't. That survival brain is always trying to keep you safe, but it's less likely to perceive a particular situation as threatening if it can identify some past experience that proves you're capable of navigating that situation with little to no risk. When you encounter a comfortable situation, you rarely need to consciously think about why you feel comfortable. Everything just feels okay. That's your subconscious mind doing the work for you. By visualizing what you want as the outcome, you're creating the tape, the data that's going to put your subconscious mind at ease. The more time you spend visualizing these experiences, and the more vivid these visualizations are, the more familiar they become. And your subconscious mind doesn't know whether it's true or false, only that it's familiar. If you're not convinced by this, think about what it's like when you're watching a film, and you know all of a sudden that it's getting a little bit tense and scary because dramatic music comes on or the lighting changes slightly, the actor's facial expressions, etc. And then, all of a sudden, there's a sort of tension. Maybe you hear a noise upstairs in the house and it gives you a jump. That's me anyway. Those cues trigger real emotions in us, like anxiety or fear, without us even needing to see the scary part yet. Your conscious mind knows that what you see in the film is not a real situation, but your mind will respond in such a way that you feel those real emotions anyway. Interestingly enough, this example illustrates our point in two ways. For one, it demonstrates that you don't need to have experienced a memory in real life in order for your subconscious mind to respond to it and produce real emotions. On the other hand, it illustrates the kinds of cues that your mind is actually responding to. The music, lighting, and other changes you see on screen are intentional decisions made by the filmmakers specifically for this reason. These devices have always been used in scary movies, and so your subconscious mind registers that when these changes are happening on screen, that something scary is about to happen. The data has been stored as familiar even from different films that you've seen. Of course, we're looking to tap into our subconscious to produce much different emotions than fear, but we're using that same process when we go through visualization. It's leveraging the power of the mind. Actors use it and athletes use it, so why not you? Affirmations, like the ones we mentioned earlier, operate similarly, but are more verbal than visual. The more you say things like these to yourself, I am knowledgeable, I am prepared, etc., the more your subconscious mind begins to believe them, regardless of whether they were true to begin with, although in many cases, they're much truer than we feel ready to believe. So, in either case, you're breaking the cycle by reprogramming your survival brain to register previously threatening situations as comfortable situations, or replace self-limiting beliefs with positive beliefs about the self. Addressing the cycle using these techniques that focus on the subconscious are the closest you can come to preventing that cycle from being set in motion. It certainly ensures that the cycle won't be a negative one. For the rest of this unit, we'll spend a little more time on visualization and go through an exercise so you can experience this for yourself. Get nice and comfortable. Find a comfortable place where you can sit, nice and easy, with your feet quite grounded. Breathe, and try to allow your body to feel entirely relaxed. Once you're comfortable, allow your eyes to close, or at least take your gaze downward. Find a nice spot a few feet or so in front of you on the floor. Take 3 more really nice deep breaths in and that longer breath out, slowing your breathing down so it becomes nice and steady. We want to find ourselves in a light trance. Let your conscious mind sleep while your subconscious mind hears every word. Let any thoughts about the day, tasks to do, just slip away. Just let go. Allow your body to feel nice and relaxed. Allow your subconscious mind to remind you of a place that feels very safe and peaceful, either in your memory or an imaginary place. If there are many places that pop into your mind, just simply choose one of them and allow yourself to be there in that place, this place where you feel so safe and peaceful. Notice all the sights and sounds around you. Notice any scents, any sounds. Notice how you feel in this place of peace. As you notice how you feel, notice how your breath and body change, slow and steady. And as you notice this feeling of peace that this place provides, allow that feeling of peace to be all around your scalp, the muscles in the back of your neck, the muscles in your jaw, in your throat. Allow that feeling of relaxation to go down your spine, down your back, every muscle, every nerve. Feel it slowly move throughout every inch of your body, like a wave. Allow that feeling, so safe, peaceful, and relaxed, to just wash over you. Allow it to go deeper, feeling lighter, feeling more relaxed. Notice the place deep within that feels like your center of peace. I know you can find it. Notice how that feels. What word or color might represent that feeling of peace? As you note that color, notice it expanding and growing, allowing that feeling to expand even further. I'd like you to say softly to yourself 3 times that word as you visualize the color. Feel the sensation and let it expand even more. Now, I'd like you to squeeze your thumb and finger together on one hand and say that word again softly 3 times. Feel the color. Allow it to grow so that it's going through every cell, every nerve, every pore. Anchor it in. Now, release your finger and thumb, knowing you can trigger that feeling of peace anytime you choose, whenever you need it. Knowing that whenever you do, that feeling is activated more quickly and strongly, helping you to feel safe, peaceful, calm, and at ease. Focus on that situation that you thought about earlier, where you want to feel calm, confident, and in control. Picture yourself in your mind looking on at that scene like you're looking at a movie scene, where you are the best version of yourself doing whatever it is you want to do. Calm, motivated, capable, and in control. Make it vivid. Make it bright. See yourself just as you wish to be. On the count of 3, I want you to merge with that body and that version of you. 1, 2, 3. And now, looking out through your own eyes, you're in that scene. You can see and feel that confidence from your feet up through your legs, through your torso, right through your core, into your chest, in your throat, speaking so calmly. Your breath steady and even. Your focus razor sharp. See how everyone is listening to you and responding. How you clearly say exactly what you want to say. Make that scene really clear for yourself. Perfect. Then step back out of that image and look on at yourself again as if you're looking on at a movie scene, seeing how amazingly you're doing, just as you wish it to be. And here, make any tweaks, any edits you wish. Make it brighter, bolder, stronger. Step back into that image and step out again. Now, squeeze your thumb and finger together and allow yourself to feel that feeling of peace and calm, feeling relaxed and in control, knowing that when you feel like this, your body and mind are able to respond and react. You are looking after yourself, your body, your mind, allowing it to restore, to heal with each breath. When you're ready, come back to full awareness with this feeling. Are you feeling different? How does your body feel? I want to remind you that you can trigger that feeling of peace anytime you choose. When you feel calm like this, your body and mind are able to respond and react, allowing it to restore and heal with each breath. Well done. I hope you found that really powerful. We spent some time on that exercise, but you don't need to take that amount of time to have this kind of impact. Even 30 seconds can help you connect with that visualization. And the more you practice it, the more powerful it can be for any situation. By feeding your subconscious mind this kind of visualization regularly, in as vivid detail as possible, you make it so much easier for your brain to recall this experience when you encounter a similar situation, when it comes time to deliver that presentation or have that difficult conversation. You can approach it calm and confidently because although this may be the first time it's actually happening, your mind thinks that you've been here 1,000,000 times. It's no longer a threat. That's all for now. In the last unit, we'll wrap up what we've learned, and I'll share one more exercise with you to leave you feeling calm and confident. Hi, and welcome to the conclusion of Be Calm, Be Confident, breaking the cycle of negative thoughts to regain emotional freedom. Congratulations on making it through this course. I hope you're already feeling more calm, confident, and in control, and more prepared to handle the cycle of thoughts, emotions, and bodily responses that the brain throws our way. Let's take a moment to recap what you've learned. First, we covered how the brain works, focusing on the three parts of the brain: the survival brain, the emotional brain, and the thinking brain, and why and how they've evolved to keep us safe. We also talked about how this theory of the brain can sometimes keep us stuck in a vicious cycle, and why we default to our emotional and survival brains in times of stress. But we also discussed practical ways to break that cycle that you can put to work right away. We talked about how to use the breath as a way to calm our parasympathetic nervous system and help our thinking brain catch up, the importance of taking both internal and external resilience breaks, and how you can clear out any emotions that you've been hoarding. Finally, we went through how the subconscious mind can play a key role in breaking the cycle, why visualization can help inform our responses, and how to engage in effective visualization. Once you feel comfortable, you can use this visualization on your own. Until then, feel free to come back to this course and use the guided visualization exercise from the last unit. Before we go, I want to go through one more exercise to leave you with. It's called the Carousel, and it's designed to help you practice cycling between these different ways of thinking that we learned here today. Think of a situation where you wish you were more effective, calmer, or more balanced. It might be the one you've previously used or something else. Again, make sure your feet are planted firmly on the floor. Close your eyes. Recall that situation. Think about how that moment is affecting you at the moment. As you picture that scene in your mind, try and get down to the core of what makes it problematic for you. Is it someone else's response, a feeling, or a reaction you have? Picture yourself in that scene. Make it clear for yourself. Again, think about how you'd like to respond in this situation. What would you rather be doing? Just like we did before. What do you want to be thinking? How do you want to be feeling? How do you want to be behaving? Think, feel, do. What does the best response look like to you? Keep your eyes closed. I want you to picture a stage that has 5 revolving stages. The first stage is the anxious scene, or the scene that's difficult for you. Tune into that. The second stage is that same scene, but upside down. And I mean that quite literally. Imagine everything you imagined the first time, but imagine it unfolding upside down. The third scene is blacked out, completely blank. The fourth stage is your ideal response. You're seeing on that stage how you want to be, the best version of you. And the fifth one is blacked out. I'll go through the numbers now, and I want you to picture them in your mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, preferred, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. End it on that positive scene. You're exactly as you need to be. This might sound confusing at first, so pause it and rewind it as many times as you'd like. Here, you're practicing transitioning from one visualization of the scenario to a more positive one. You want to have a clear sense of what you're afraid of. Then you want to flip that on its head, as it were. Then you want a blank slate, clear it away. Then you want to settle on how you actually want that scenario to play out. Then you want to clear the slate again and repeat as many times as you want to until finally ending on that positive scenario. Feel yourself moving from the anxious scene to a more positive one. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this course as much as I've enjoyed putting it together. It is so important to remember that at the end of the day, you are human. We've said as much before, but none of us, even those of us who have studied these concepts and teach them professionally, none of us are immune to the brain chemistry that we're up against here. If you find yourself in the cycle that we've discussed, be kind to yourself. Beating yourself up over an impossible goal will only bring you more distress and keep you trapped in that cycle. It will keep you anxious and acting out of your emotions. The goal isn't to do away with the cycle altogether or to never feel a negative emotion again. The goal is to have strategies that you can easily put to use to break the cycle and take control of how you respond to external circumstances. Remember, at best, you'll still be living out that cycle. You'll just be doing it in a way that feeds on positive thoughts and emotions, allowing you to show up calmly and confidently and move yourself toward your ideal outcome. So focus on action. You know what you've got to do. Breathe. Everything starts with your breath. Don't worry so much about whether it's working. You'll work yourself up into a thought cycle that leads you right back to where you began. If anything, set aside time to journal about what you think is effective for you and what you're having a hard time seeing results from. Make a practice of the techniques we've discussed here. Try breathing exercises even when you're not in a tough situation. By building the habit, you'll make sure that you're making these principles live in your day-to-day life, and that is one of the most powerful things that you can do for yourself. Set aside time each day to journal, take breaks, and visualize. Do breathing exercises anytime throughout the day, every day. It only takes a minute. That's all I've got for you for now.